I've enjoyed armor units in this game immensely. That's just what I gravitated towards whenever I first started playing. I ignored horses completely. Like, I just didn't want anything to do with them. Then I got my own Reinhardt and used them to death. But regardless, I mean, the armor units were fantastic. I mean, I was using them even way before Black Knight came out. I was one of the lucky people that got Hector in the beginning, and now I feel like I'm one of the lucky people that have Chrom. Greetings and salutations, my name is Deltran, helping you build killing machines so you can dominate in PvP and in special hero maps. And if you want help earning all the orbs, feathers, sacred coins this game throws at you every single week, consider subscribing. Let's get his digits. The highest attack value in the game, wonderful bulk, and not even the lowest speed in the game. All of this brought to you by Power Creep. Do you feel like you're being watched and you're inferior? Don't worry, it's just Power Creep. Sack of Gifts is his weapon, same as all the other Christmas and holiday weapons that we're dealing with in this particular banner. Getting yourself a buff on all your stats whenever you're initiated on. Might 14, this is inheritable, so yes, please, go ahead and give the Sack of Gifts to all of your favorite axe wielders. I would love to see this all freaking year long. He comes stock with Pivot and Wary Fighter as his B slot, which is nice. Brazen Attack and Defense 3, this has been turning a few heads. Speaking of Power Creep, meaning that people think that this is going to be just blowing open the doors on things, but here, let me take a half a moment and say, this skill is not that good. It's not going to replace Defiant Attack or Speed. It's not I mean, those things really don't have much of a home anyway. It's not replacing Life and Death and Swift Sparrow. Not at all. At best, it has the same cost as Swift Sparrow, so it's going to see some play on some units here and there, but it's not game breaking, it's not game changing. It's really nice on Chrom because you can easily balance in between the 80% threshold that it needs to activate and the 50% threshold that Wary Fighter needs. You're going to be able to balance there enough thanks to the real Power Creep, which is the massive amount of bulk and damage that he has. As far as his ratings, the ratings are on a scale from A to F, A being really great, F being please don't do that at all with him, and S because, well, S rank's a thing in these games, but it does basically mean near perfection. The different categories here, take a look at the screen, and they will be explained to you via the text. Let's jump right into the builds, and the first build that I want to talk about is a budget build. Basically, we're to keep as much as we want here, and I've been going back and forth on what the A slot should be, and I think that Deathblow still has a big leg up on this particular build, just because you'll be able to get the initiation and deal all that damage. Now, if you're keeping them in a pure armor team, which I'm implying you should with Ward Armor as the C slot, then you know what? Go ahead and keep that Brazen skill, because after that first hit, you're not going to fall out of Wary Fighter stance for a while, and you're gonna have a lot of bulk there that's gonna just be wonderful. And you may want, if you keep that, you may want to switch up to Bonfire, but I put Reprisal here because between Deathblow and Reprisal, you're just hitting the enemy back so hard, because more than likely you're going to be initiated on first. This is just a surprise that not too many units can deal with. I mean, take a look at the Duelist and the Wall ratings. Duelist is whenever you're fighting back and forth with an enemy. Wall is whenever you're just taking it, and for the most part you're just destroying so many things. Let's go ahead and go to the Obituaries. 10 and 3 on the DPT. The DPT Deltran's PvP threats list. Link in the doobly-doo to see who's on that. They're the best of the best, the more valid threats that you'll see in PvP Arena. It's a curated list that I do. It's 10 and 3 wins and losses on initiation, and 4 and 1 whenever you're defending. We're seeing some of the faces that go through that, plus a few others that are not in the DPT but are relevant in the meta, like Halloween Henry and whatnot. So we're getting rid of a lot of people on initiation, and we're barely dying to anybody whenever they initiate on us. It's actually absolutely wonderful. If you don't do anything more with your Chrom than this, you're gonna be just fine. He is a juggernaut on the battlefield as it is, and that low speed is not a problem for him because he just has Wary Fighter, and he says, sure, whatever, low speed, I don't care. So when it comes down to it, he's just a capable unit all by himself right out the gate, and just making a couple small tweaks like I suggest here is just going to propel him to a point that I run him in a non-armor team right now. That's how I am running my arena season right now, very, very, very successfully. This next build is really 2-in-1. I'm going to go ahead and talk about 2 different weapons, but the rest of the build is exactly the same. Death Blow, we're getting Bold Fighter 3 on him, sorry sister, and we're talking, I'm going to show all the numbers for Brave Axe, because everybody wants to know about Brave Axe, but Slaying Hammer is the other one here, the other weapon that we're going to be talking about as well. Bonfire is our special. With the Brave Axe build especially, you could consider going with Ignis, and you could also do that with the Slaying Hammer build too if you want to go ahead and just give yourself quick impulse, which I recommend you do regardless. But the thing here is that Bonfire is important, and we're going to see why we need Bonfire in just a moment. The one thing to note here is that with an aggressor rating as high as it is here, the duelist rating really just gets trampled. The way that it's calculated, aggressor is meant to show 1-round kills, and Chrom just with either one of these weapons just runs over so much stuff that there's nobody left to duel. So doing a duelist rating really isn't that great. I put down the wall rating not because you're supposed to be blocking with him, really it's also showcasing what you're giving up whenever you go with such an aggressive thing like this. And while I have ward armor on there as a slot, much like I said with Lissa, this is a super aggressive build. You probably want to give this particular Chrom armor march, because that way whenever you have armor march on him, he's guaranteed to be benefiting from that if he's with other armor units, so that he could get that extra movement, and hopefully the buddy that triggered the armor march benefit to actually work is going to give him a ward, or, you know, a goad or a fortify, whatever you're running. I won't judge, but Chrom needs that benefit a lot more than anything else, so give him armor march if that's what you're going to do with him. Of course, looking at these obituaries for him, we're talking 32 and 2 on initiation out of 34. That's how many people are in the DPT as of right now. So 32 out of 34 people he is killing whenever he's initiated on 2 and 19, so it's not looking all that great. We see a lot of great faces that we're killing here that always cause us problems otherwise. Remember, this is using the Brave Axe, so we see that we're killing people like Xander on initiation, which is quite wonderful. We're also killing people we shouldn't be surprised about on initiation, like Mia and Bridelia, Reinhardt. I mean, those aren't surprising. People that we lose to whenever we initiate on them, Black Knight and Arden, yeah, don't do that. Now, here's the funny thing. I'll go ahead and finish flashing up the rest of the obituaries here as I talk about this. If you switch out to Slaying Hammer, your record whenever you're being initiated on slightly better. Your initiation is not going to be any better, but what's happening is that you're going to switch out killing red horsies for being able to kill red armor. That's the thing about this Chrom. There's so much excess here that you're talking about optimizing for killing an off-color unit, and it's not so my opinion is that it's go with whatever weapon you want. It's not going to matter if you're like, oh, I need to have a check for armor. Okay, great. Go with the Slaying Hammer. If you're like, oh, I need to have a check for horsies. Okay, great. Go with the Brave Axe. Otherwise, it just doesn't matter. I'll be blunt with you, it doesn't matter. There's just so much excess here. The gifts are coming from all directions, and it's just time to give those gifts to people. The gift is death, if you haven't figured it out. It's death. This last build, though, is my favorite. We're going to give him the Slaying Axe, Bonfire, Distant Counter, and Vengeful Fighter. It's Are you surprised? I don't think you are surprised. This particular build here does give up a little bit, and it's funny because I usually like the super aggressive builds. After all, I am the guy who said you should put life and death on Black Knight, and honestly, until Wrath came about for a B slot skill, I stuck by that wholeheartedly. Now Steady Breath and Wrath is where that's at, but that's not who we're talking about. I really like this build, because with this particular distant counter, you can see that his duelist rating is good. It's not as good as the aggressor rating of the previous one. Our deflector rating, how well we handle mages, is great, and that's what we're getting out of this. We have a slow armor unit that's going to repel mages, including the Reinhardt. Let's go into the Obituaries. 10 and 9 when we initiate, 21 and 10 whenever we're initiated on. We're taking a lot of hits, and there's some people that are just really wrecking our day, and we're going to see that here in a moment. But let's take a look at these wins. This is whenever we're attacking. Hey, that's great, and we get a handful of other people too you shouldn't be surprised about, but it's nice to know that we are taking care of some other extra threats like Kagero and Deirdre. Whenever we initiate, of course, we're losing to Red, Black Knight, and Xander, and Arden, Ryoma. I mean, like, this is not the build that has the excess to go against Red. But let's go ahead and take a look at what happens whenever we're defending. Now we could take care of some excess. We can get rid of Valencia. We could take care of that same Deirdre. Reinhardt. Now here's the funny thing, is with this distant counter and with Bonfire on here, you need Bonfire on this build. You don't want Ignis. And this is what's happening in the other build that I sort of glossed over. You want Bonfire because of how quick it activates. It's going to get in there and get rid of some people who are going to kill you. And that's what's happening here. We kill the Reinhardt with Bonfire. He could be plus 10 merged. He could go ahead and hit you with the Moonbow. He can be plus attack on boons. It doesn't matter. You're gonna stand there and laugh it off. And this is with no seal. There's some seal suggestions up on the screen that flash around, but I didn't put them into the calculation for this. It does not matter. You can put whatever seal you want to help buff up whatever you think is missing. You could swing and kill the Reinhardt whenever he initiates on you, and that's wonderful. You could also do the same thing to Cecelia as long as she's not buffed out completely to the nines. I mean, if she has like 1 hone or fortify buff on her, you're good to go. As a matter of fact, the DPT is calculated assuming that the Horsies are going to have a buff like a Blade Tome Horsey is going to have a hone. So we really are handling that just well. Just be careful, because after a while the merges will catch up to you, and so if you're not merging your own, it's not going to be that reliable unless you put certain seals on you. So, you know, keep a lookout for that. We're seeing everybody else here just fly by that we're working with, but of course, whenever it comes down to it, we still can't block Red, where Brave Roy is getting rid of us, Ryoma is getting rid of us, Ike is getting rid of us. That's what's happening here. You are sort of saying, I accept the fact that I'm green and shouldn't be fighting Red, but in return, I'm going to handle a lot of the problem units that are in the meta. And if that's what you need out of your unit, and that's what I need out of mine, that is going to be exactly what you get. So what do you think? Do you like Chrom? Do you not like Chrom? Let me know down in the comments what you plan on doing with yours if you have one. And hey, do me a favor, if you like your Fire Emblem information hot and fresh like Grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, take it easy.